Hello, and welcome to episode 44 of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest Nintendo news and rumors, as well as a celebration of all of the things Nintendo. I am Kevin, and with me this week to talk about all of the games of all of the years is all of the Harrison.
Just one though. Just the one. Just the one Harrison. But hopefully it's your
Yeah.
favorite. But hopefully it's your favorite one. Like Kevin. Am I your favorite Harrison? Like Harrison Ford, George Harrison,
Harrison from Dexter.
Harrison Dexter, William
That was a
Henry
bad
Harrison.
Harrison. I
What?
real quick tangent. I recently did a rewatch of Dexter. First off, did not realize when that show first aired how much that show apparently hates women, and
Very true.
also, uh, I think they were going towards one message that they abandoned. Is it seems like the show was getting geared towards that his father Harrison was actually the villain, and then they never made it to that like twist because he is doing bad things. But anyway, that's my
Man,
Harrison rant.
yeah, that show went on forever.
Yeah.
What an interesting time in the viewing, and like because I was watching like Dexter and Weeds, and that was like it for me for a while. So yeah, it's
I
I haven't
think
thought.
the series, my wife and I rewatched it, and I think the series was building towards Dexter eventually having a realization that he's not broken. He can make connections with other people, and his father never should have raised him the way he did. But then instead, the show ended up the way it did. But like, if you watch the show, he obviously connects with people, and obviously he isn't the uncaring, unemotional person that he narrates himself as. But anyway, I digress.
It kind of sounds like they had an issue with driving home whatever kind of point they were trying to make. But
Exactly.
I guess we have to digress because we're just Dexter fans. You know,
Not Dexter experts.
we're not Dexter experts. So anything new in your playing this week, in your gaming this week?
What have I been playing? I've been playing Pikmin 2 for the first time. Finally got around to playing Pikmin 2. Played all the others and just did a replay of the first one so I could get back in the mindset of what the GameCube era was like for Pikmin. And I got to say, I like it a lot, but I honestly feel like Pikmin is a series where it got better with each game. Now that I've played them all, I haven't finished 2 yet, but I feel like it goes like, I'd rank them in reverse order, 4, 3, 2, 1. So,
Well, good.
so
I
yeah,
mean,
it's good news for Pikmin.
yeah. I mean, there's a reason why. There's a reason why they've made four of them. So I wonder then, because again, this is a future segment I'm working on, like the most important games, not the best necessarily. It might be the best, but like the most important game of like every franchise. So I wonder which is the most important Pikmin game. Like
See,
which.
that's an interesting question because now that I'm playing 2, I see that 2 is where it introduced a lot of the concepts that 4 would eventually perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like they started in 2, but they're fully realized in 4.
Yeah, interesting. And sometimes they are the same. Like spoiler, like I think the best Animal Crossing game as of right now is the most important one, but that's not always the case if you look at games maybe like Zelda. So
Mhm.
um with
Well, I
with
can give you a
yeah.
specific example is 2 introduce these caves that you go in, and the caves are also in 4, but in 2 they you have no idea how hard the cave is going to be, so you don't really know how many Pikmin to bring with you, where it tells you what types of Pikmin you should bring, but it doesn't really tell you a difficulty level. And in 4, each cave before you go in, it's got like a difficulty level, so you're like, all right, I should bring 100 Pikmin with me. This is a hard cave. And I think it's little things like that.
So you're enjoying it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
much
yeah,
so.
yeah. Yeah, that's great. I have the Ford demo downloaded, and I also have the Dragon Quest Monsters demo downloaded. But I can only play one Square game at a time. So Gonna
Well,
have
I
to
know
wait
you're
on that.
also playing Wonder, and you've got Mario RPG coming up, which I'm very curious what your thoughts as a first time Super Mario RPG player are going to be, because I was watching the trailers again this week, and because I'm excited. And I feel like a new modern gamer might get the impression that it's a much bigger game than it actually is. Because I was thinking about it, and not spoiling anything for you, but the first area of the game is only like 4 screens before you, and then you get to a boss fight, and it's the tutorial area, and but it's very linear. There's not a lot of exploring, and I know, like, you keep the tutorial area simple, but I was thinking about it, and I'm like, most of the places you go in this game are only like 5 screens big. So I'm like, it's a very focused game, and I feel like if you watch those trailers like I did this week, someone who hasn't played the game before might expect like something on the scale of like Final Fantasy VI. Like they might
Mhm.
see that it was on the Super Nintendo and be like, "Oh, that's a Super Nintendo RPG. It's going to be a huge RPG like Final Fantasy VI." And no, it's very much still a Mario game. So it's very focused, very compact.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm gonna be interested in your thoughts when that finally drops.
I don't know either. I'm somewhat familiar. I've made a goal to not like to not play the old game like when the new one was announced, or watch too much, or like read in too much, because I could find out everything about the story and the ending, and so I made a goal not to do that. But I'm going into it more like, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how younger viewers, players see it as well, because I have played, I guess, other RPGs, or like other like adventure games from the same time.
Hmm.
So I don't know if that's gonna like create any bias in my mind. But yeah, I'll be paying attention to that. Kevin, what I want to know from you is and you might already kind of know from what you've seen so far, is I want to know what kind of quality of life improvements you see in the game, if any. Like are they introducing things a different way? Are they letting you skip parts of tutorials that maybe you couldn't do it before? Is there just anything that makes the game feel more fluid,
The biggest
or
thing they would
a
need to
different way?
address every time I play the original, my disappointment is you need to be able to carry more items. You don't, in the original at least, your inventory is very limited. It's almost like, I don't know if you've ever played Earthbound on the Super Nintendo,
Mhm.
but you end up doing more inventory management than you should have to. So the hopefully the remake just lets you carry everything you find, because that's how modern games tend to work.
Right. Well, we have so many different buttons, so I wonder. Well, Super Nintendo. Yeah, yeah. I wonder. I imagine it wouldn't be a side button, but it would be like X or Y, where you could bring up a quick menu. Yeah, yeah. I'll be interested in seeing um, since the majority of this install base, and again, I have no idea how many people are going to buy this game, but the majority, I imagine, are going to be new players. So
Hmm.
just how do they introduce mechanics into the game? Um, and do they say like, hey, if you already know, is like, my limited experience in Nintendo RPGs is that sometimes they don't always do that. So I'll be
Yeah.
interested in seeing that, and also I just want to know, just how you feel about just the animation, the cutscenes. I'm like, this is made by, how do you say it, Arte Piazza, I think. It's made by a developer connected to Square, and I just gotta say, like, I think Square makes absolutely gorgeous games. Just time after time after time makes very good looking games. So I'm pumped. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, me too. I
Um,
like watching those trailers again this week. I'm super hyped to see all like the new group attacks and all the little cutscenes they have, even just the story based cutscenes. A lot of the stuff from that trailer, I know exactly where that part of the game is. So it's really cool to see that they have full CGI cutscenes now. Yeah, I'm really excited for the look of everything to improve. I'm curious if I'm gonna end up finishing this, where I'm going to land on if I'm like this was amazing or if I'm going to be like I kind of wish they just added the original to the Switch Online service. You know, which one will I fall on?
they're going to need to add a hard mode.
I
I,
think
I
that's been oh no, an easier mode has been confirmed. That's what it is.
yes,
So I
there's
don't
like
know if they
a yeah. Sorry,
I was going to say,
I
like in one of the trailers, it shows that you can toggle the game to be easier, but they haven't. The hard mode you might have to beat the game for to unlock.
okay, all right. Oh, well, that would be good. I think they need to do that, and I think of course they're going to have an easier or casual mode, um, and uh, yeah, and I think big picture, because I think this is always fun to talk about on the podcast. Like, do you think this is Nintendo kind of feeling it out with Mario RPG? Like, where do we go with the Mario RPGs in the future? What do you think?
Yeah, I could totally see them using this as a feeler because they had so many restrictions on the Paper Mario series, which has been, I think Arlo's channel talks about that a lot. Is they they, they limited the people who made Paper Mario games so much that this game coming out being completely different from a Paper Mario game, they might be like, well, let's see if people like this. Because one of the things they weren't allowed to do in Paper Mario, for example, was they weren't allowed to introduce new non Mario characters.
Mm.
And this game obviously has non Mario characters because it was the collaboration with Squaresoft. So now Square Enix. But where's I going with this? Oh yeah. So if they see a positive response to these new characters, maybe they'll be like, oh, you know what? Maybe we can add some new characters into a Paper Mario game. Maybe we
Yeah,
don't have to hold this franchise hostage so much.
maybe we can put Geno in Smash. You know, like there's things like
Maybe.
that. Before we get on to the news, I do need to say some spoiler free things about Mario Wonder, and I promise it won't take too long.
Say what you
Um,
gotta say. When you're done with that, I'd like to circle back to RPG though and talk about the Metacritic scores. But go ahead.
oh yeah, yeah. So we'll get into the news then. So I'm self deprecating. I mean, I bought Mario. I bought Mario Wonder after saying I wouldn't get it. Basically right after we recorded, and I just do this thing of like I know that I don't have enough time to finish this game. Like I knew that because that was what on the ninth. So that's 8 days before Mario RPG came out, and I knew that like I had way too much work and things to do to even come close to finishing it. But I don't regret buying it, but like I just don't know why I do that to myself. Um, so I want to share just the big picture, and this is going to be completely spoiler free for anyone listening if you haven't played it. Um, and Kevin's going to know what I'm talking about, like you're like because you've finished it, so you're going to know exactly what I mean when I say this. There were moments right away, and there have been moments already in my playing the short time that I've played that have been very extremely special, very very magical, just things that make me go like wow, like Nintendo is doing things that I would have never speculated, you know? And that's all spoiler free. But I have to say that like I feel like my experience in it has been very fleeting, and that has been very frustrating to me in my playing experience, because everything that feels good to me in this game has not felt very immersive overall. And my frustration is I don't know how to fix that, because I think for me it's more of a structural issue, and the fact that some of it does feel too familiar at times. Um,
But at
so
the same time, I'd say I'd argue with people who call the game. I've seen the term tossed around a lot this week because of the Game Awards. Generic. Uh, so it can feel familiar. That's a good word to use. People saying generic, though, I'm like, that word has a meaning. You can't just throw it around when you want to just insult a game. And this game is not generic. You know what I'm saying? They did
no,
change up a lot of things.
no. Those people. Okay, all right. You know what? There's been some opinions on both sides that I would just say like you're wrong, but I can't do that. But like I've played through only the first two worlds, so I'm like barely into it. And if I could like list off spoilers right now, I could tell you three off the top of my head that are completely new to anything that I've seen in at least a Nintendo game. So probably just gaming in general. I'm not going to say it. Like we'll save it for like another special or something. But like no, it's not generic at all. Like what I'm just saying that I it's been frustrating to know that like if you feel differently and you think like this is like this is your Switch game of the year, I get it. I'm having a great time with it. It's just that like I'm not getting immersed the way I want to, and that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that it's not the kind of game that I like necessarily. But I am having a great time with it. Like so I'm what I'm trying to say is that Tears of the Kingdom and Mario Wonder have been very complicated for me this year. Like, 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 like I've had. I think they are both excellent games, and I don't want anyone to get me wrong with that. It just I feel complicated about them. I think they're going to have complicated legacies, and
Mhm.
um, and I was thinking. So I went back through the Mario games. I think this is going to be the first time I've been playing like two Mario kind of games since 2007. I think
Wow, that's
I
yeah. It's
because
been a while.
I was thinking like for example in 2021 I played Bowser's Fury, but I wasn't playing in a game. I wasn't playing like Mario Golf Super Rush, which came out like the same year. 2007 was like Mario Galaxy and Mario Sonic Olympic Games, which I know is like barely a Mario game, but like, um, yeah, like it's just Mario overload. It's just a lot of Mario for me.
Well, we had the year of Luigi, and now we have the this is definitely the year of Mario to
Yeah,
coincide with his movie.
for sure. And we were supposed to have the year of Zelda with Zelda 35, and then psh, so.
Well, yeah.
But actually, I wonder if this movie announcement has means anything more with getting a Zelda announcement at the Game Awards. But yeah, probably not. It's just fun.
So circling back to the Metacritic scores on Mario RPG, everyone who's hearing this right now can be playing it right now if they want to be. It's out by the not when we've recorded this, but by the time this is out, you guys could be playing it, so you know for yourself how good it is. But
Don't tell us.
yeah, it's currently got. Oh, I should have wrote it down. I think it was an 83 on Metacritic, which is good, but I just wanted to point out something that I saw today that a thought that just never really occurred to me is the way Metacritic compiles its scores. If you scroll through, you'll see some publications that scored this game a 60, which hurts the score. And I found out the reason that is they didn't really give it a 60. What happens is if a website scores based on 5, like they gave the game a 3 out of 5, that's a 60.
Mhm.
So it kind of screws with the way Metacritic. I never knew Metacritic worked that way before, and that was just very insightful to me. So I'm like, okay, so that really drives home how good. Well, first off, how good the games that are in the 90s are, but an 80 is still pretty good if it's got those 60s bringing it down.
Yeah, yeah. Metacritic should change that in a way that, I mean, I think like if his, I think critic scores are out of 100 and then user scores are out of 10. So I think like if a company rates it out of 100, then it's fine. But if you rate out of
Mhm.
10, then it should be weighted a certain way. If you rate out of 5, it should be weighted a certain way. But
Yeah,
really, it's just, I mean, I, just people that look at Metacritic scores, just I think look more at what the scores are telling you and not necessarily the number, because
which is it's just weird how our brain categorizes things because when I saw the 60, I was like there's no way somebody scored this a 60. It's
sure.
like I know I haven't played this version yet, but I know how the original is and I know it's a good game. I know it's better than a 60. That's a ridiculously low score. And then when I found that out, I was like it's weird how your brain categorizes things because I'm like I could see someone giving that a 3 out of 5 and a 3 out of 5 is a 60. But for some reason that makes more sense.
Yeah, yeah, sure. 60, yeah, 60 is not a great gaming score. So yeah, I wonder if they'll probably never change it because it is just like Metacritic. It's like it is it's like a meta analysis. It's like it's supposed to just be a big collection of things.
But
So
it's just weird how like I see 60 out of 100 and that stands out to me. I'm like, no, that's too low for that game. But if you told me in your opinion it was a 3 out of 5, I'd be like, valid. Like why is one okay to me and not the other? It's so weird.
yeah, I guess it just depends. But I don't know predictions. I'm gonna say I think I have no idea. I don't know if the user score is going to come in higher or lower because
I
what was
think
the
it'll stay
last?
in the 80s because to be honest, at least the original does have two things going against it. The fact that it's a very very short game and if they haven't done all the quality of life improvements a game that old needs, like for example if your inventory is constantly full like it is in the original, I could see people knocking it a point or two for that and it'll stay in the mid 80s I think.
I think with this developer, I think I think we're gonna have a very smooth release, and I just don't know. I think there's a good chance that the people who actually play and review this game, like the users, might have it at an actual higher overall score than the critics. Again, this all doesn't mean anything really, but it's always interesting to me when the user scores come out higher because users typically will review bomb games if they have like any kind of rough release. I'm looking at a Detective Pikachu Returns right now, 4.3 user score.
Not good.
Yeah, because there was one that came out. There was one that came out recently that had a higher user rating than it did. It might have been Mario Wonder. Had a higher user rating than it did Critic, and that's pretty rare. Um, Speaking of scores and ranking games, I mean,
Yeah,
are
we
you?
should talk about the game awards. We dropped the it's old news by the time people are hearing this, but we have our nominees for game of the year. I think we could speculate around our predictions for this. So the if you don't know, the games nominated for game of the year are Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Alan Wake 2, and Baldur's Gate 3. So those are our nominees. What are your predictions, Harrison? What do you like here? What don't you like? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, well, I will. I'll just say up front that I've only played the Nintendo games,
Okay.
so at least from what I've heard, at least from my circle of my small circle, is that Baldur's Gate is going to win most of these awards. Um, so
Oh, okay.
so I I would be curious because that is not a small publisher, but a smaller one. Not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily. I'm not going to speak out of turn. I'm not going to do that. But if I had to choose, I mean, I would hope that Tears of the Kingdom would win, but I just
The
think
thing that I think
I
Tears of
think
the
it's tough.
Kingdom has going against it that I haven't seen, and again, I'm not analyzing too many of the comment sections because they're toxic, but I haven't seen a lot of people talking about this. And what I think Tears of the Kingdom has going against it is it's a great game. Don't get me wrong, but it's r- running on such, not even that the Switch is primitive hardware, but keep in mind that Breath of the Wild was a Wii U game. So we're going back one generation even there, and Tears of the Kingdom is basically of the same quality. It's a little, bigger, but Tears of the Kingdom would have fit as a Wii U game as well. It's not. It's basically the same engine. So I think that's one thing it has going against it is it's not really revolutionizing anything in terms there. Gameplay wise, yes. Gameplay wise, it's doing all kinds of things that it's revolutionizing. But as far as like pushing the limits of gaming, I think there's an argument to be made there. Mario Wonder facing the same problem being a 2D Mario game. Um, I honestly think, and I like Nintendo. Got a Nintendo podcast going here. I'm obviously a Nintendo fan, but I don't think either of their entries are going to win Game of the Year. Tears of the Kingdom is their best odds of it. We'll see what happens.
I think some of the dates on some of these games that are in these categories are going to be iffy because like Mario Wonder did come out very recently, and yeah, with how old the Switch system is, it's going to be difficult. And and this is going to come up time and time again looking through examinations, but when I'm looking at the numbers, I see Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider Man 2, Resident Evil 4. You know, like, you know, um, they're all they're all sequels of something. Even 2D Mario Wonder. Baldur's Gate might stand out because Baldur's Gate 2 came out like what 2003. I don't know. So it's like it might stand out as just being like a newer, fresher game that had excellent community support and no DLC, if I'm being correct. So no surprises on no surprises on what was nominated to me. Some people were saying Hi-Fi Rush, but that was a stretch, I thought, for Game of the Year. But they got tons of nominations, anyways.
Yeah, it all pretty much went exactly how people predicted it was going to go, especially with Tears of the Kingdom and Spider Man 2. That was on everybody's list. For a while, people were predicting Final Fantasy 16, but the discourse on that seemed to die pretty quickly after that game was released.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think there needs to be a category for best remake or remaster
Right.
because I mean, we got Metroid this year, we got Super Mario RPG, we got a lot of good, and I see a lot of people complaining about Resident Evil 4's nomination, saying like, and I don't agree with this, but like saying like, oh, remakes shouldn't be allowed to be nominated for Game of the Year. All the work was already done for them, and it's like, first off, no, it wasn't. That I don't know. I
Is
don't
it? Is
understand what.
it? is it a fun game? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Is it a fun game? I don't understand the discourse or the I keep using that word. Um, I don't understand. I also don't understand why people this debate always comes up when they're like, is it a remake or a remaster? I see them talking about that for Mario RPG even, and I'm like, this is clearly a remake. Everything here was built from the ground up, from scratch. There is no DNA from the original game in this. It was completely remade. A remaster is when you take existing thing and you polish it a little. You remaster it. You but I don't know why people can't tell the difference. I keep seeing that like, well, which is which? It seems pretty obvious to me.
I mean, I don't care.
Yeah,
I
that's
know the difference. I know the difference, but I just don't really care. Like if a remake or a remaster or whatever you're going to call it is good enough to be a game of the year, um, then whatever. I think people need to unplug from like maybe the internet and just like play the game. That's coming from someone who has not played this game.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
like which game that released this year did you have the most fun with? That's the game of the
yeah,
year. If it's
yeah.
a remake, it's a remake.
And touching on Final Fantasy 16, I think like we should have started by saying that game of the year is silly. Like game of the year to me is as credible as any other gaming awards. So I don't really care what the title of it is, but it's just fun to talk about. And 2023 has been a bit unprecedented, or maybe just an example of the future, because I think if you were to throw Final Fantasy 16 into another year, it could be game of the year. Like, I think that would be like a, a game of the year quality game. But since this year was so crazy, some of these games have just been kind of pushed over to the side. Um, the video game direction is almost the same category, which seems silly. So I'm thinking whoever wins game of the year is going to win game direction. I don't know how common that is in the gaming awards.
Yeah, I think that's the type of category where there's a lot of wiggle room in terms of like how you could debate and argue why one game deserves it, one game doesn't, because it's not very well defined, that category.
So I mean, again, that would be cool. Like game direction. Just which one would you go? Tears of the Kingdom or Mario Wonder? I don't know. It's a good question.
That is a good question because Wonder may not be worthy of Game of the Year, but it definitely has some great game direction. There's so many little details in that game that's almost the category that it should win over Game of the Year. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like finally we get to see a Mario game direction, or at least the 2D sense, where it's like now we can expand, and like if this is good, then we can keep expanding. So I might take that over to the Kingdom just because it's not a sequel. Um, there is one Zelda snub I want to talk about in a bit, but I'm going in order.
Well, we don't have to do
Narrative.
all the categories. Just do anything you have something to say about because
Yeah,
I pretty
yeah,
much only care about Game of the Year.
yeah. I pretty much am. Well, I'll tell you. Narrative does not have any Nintendo games, so I think this one's going to be Baldur's Gate. But I am super happy to see that Cyberpunk made it into the nominations. Because they released their DLC, and it's just crazy to see them back on any kind of gaming nominations after 2020 and the release they had and the development, and like they've made it back to a point where like now they have a very successful game. I'm very
Hmm.
pumped for them. I'm very excited for them. Um, I don't think they're going to win anything, but it's cool to see that. it's cool to see him on this list. Cyberpunk is one of my favorite games, but it is a complete mess sometimes. I digress. Best art direction: Mario Wonder, Tears of the Kingdom. Um, Also included in this is Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, and Lies of P, which I had to look up yesterday. I had no idea.
That's
Um,
another one that Wonder deserves, is the art direction is fantastic.
Art direction, I think, deserves it for this. Hi-Fi Rush is absolutely beautiful. So I, I want Nintendo to win this one, but if Hi-Fi Rush wins, it's pretty cool for the developer. Um, I go Mario Wonder. Tears of the Kingdom is beautiful, but again, not as innovative, right?
Yeah, it's using a visual style that's already been established type thing.
Score and music you might like because this one is Final Fantasy. Score and music: Hi-Fi Rush, Tears of the Kingdom, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, and Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, this wasn't a year. None of the music really blew me away this year, to tell you the truth. I have not. You know what's going to is Mario RPG. That's the music I'm looking most forward to, but that's just because it's nostalgia. It's not going to be like a new thing. So nothing really blew me away this year in terms of music.
Mario, the music in Mario Wonder is phenomenal. It's
It's
incredible.
it's good, but like I don't know how much of that is just because all Mario games have good music. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So it's like
Yes.
I feel like it doesn't stand out as much. So I'll agree with you there. It is good. There's not any games that I'm saying let me down in terms of music, but like I don't know. There hasn't been a game yet. I'll put it this way. I haven't had any video game music stuck in my head from a game this year. Nothing that hasn't been there before. Like Tears of the Kingdom, it happened a few times, but it was always something that was also in Breath of the Wild. Um,
Yeah.
so it wasn't like unique to that soundtrack. Nothing really got stuck in. Nothing really just like played around up there like a little earworm.
Yeah. I mean, Mario Wonder. I mean, they're not even nominated. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm not sure. This could be the Final Fantasy winner that they get, but who knows? Maybe this is Baldur's Gate 3 again. Hi-Fi Rush has an excellent soundtrack, so it'd be cool to see if they win. Uh, and Tears of the Kingdom got the nomination. Audio design, no Nintendo. It's Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4. I don't see how people can distinguish so much from the audio design and the score and music, but hey, good for them.
I
Um,
think that's the type of thing where like Spider-Man 2 I don't know in those other games, but like Spider-Man 2 does a great job of, you've got the sound of the web shooters and you've got like the sound like the different robot suits make and all that stuff that wouldn't normally be included in music. So I think that's a big part of that category.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, a bit different. Some of the same, some different than the score and music. Uh, Best performance. Best. I don't know actors. The only actor I know on here is Idris Elba. So and of course I know him. So I don't know, but the games that are mentioned, the actors in the games are Final Fantasy 16, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Idris Elba was Cyberpunk 2077, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2. So I think they basically just like chose like the big character.
Mm-hmm.
They threw in Jedi Survivor, which is cool. You might know some of these people. I do not. No, no.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't. To tell you the truth, I didn't look at any of the other categories. I'm
yeah.
not very, like you said, the Game Awards. It's like,
We're almost done. No Nintendo's there. So innovation, innovation in accessibility is a category I wanted to talk about. So there's no Nintendo games in this category. Marvel Spider-Man 2, Mortal Kombat 1, Street Fighter 6, Hi-Fi Rush, Forza Motorsport, Diablo 4. Um,
What's the name of the category?
Innovation in accessibility, recognizing software and or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by an even wider audience. So I think this is Tears of the Kingdom. Um,
Yeah, I agree. Cause like I don't know. That's a very hard, like very specific thing. Like, it's so weird. I would agree. Tears of the Kingdom is bringing people who don't play video games into the video game world more than any of those others, though.
yeah, like the exploration, the satisfaction that you get from playing it, and just in general, like if I'm thinking just which games in 2023 were innovative, like how many things can you do in Tears of the Kingdom that we haven't even discovered yet? Like there's gonna be Tears of the Kingdom videos like 5 years from now where it's like didn't know we could do this, like so. But I'm just saying like it doesn't have to win, but like can we put it above Forza Motorsport? And I get like I think the Spider-Man games, I think they're all like incredible, but was this last one innovative? I have difficulty understanding why, but
I haven't played
uh,
it yet, so I don't know, and I'm
yeah,
I'm like avoiding
yeah.
spoilers.
So I'm moving ahead. Games for impact, which are like social impact. Nothing Nintendo. I don't think there's any Nintendo ports on here. Best ongoing is a pretty cool category. I'll mention. It's Apex Legends, Cyberpunk, WoW, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. All have. Well, I only play one of these games, but all have very, very good community support. Like I'm obviously not a Fortnite player, but their community support's great. So credit to them. And then best indie. My prediction is Sea of Stars, but I think Dave's a Diver should win. Um, and the other nominations were Cocoon, Dredge, and Viewfinder. It's a good year for indies. Um, it's weird that Pizza Tower didn't get nominated for best indie game, but did get nominated for best debut indie game, which is very odd to me. Um, and I also found out that Pizza Tower has an unofficial Switch port. I just found that out today that they made an unofficial Switch port for like if you have like a home brewed or whatever it is. Then after that, I think we get into mobile games and esports, VR, and I'll leave us there, Kevin. That's the end of the game of the year nominations. I think
And when are the Game Awards? They're in November, right?
they're
I mean December. Sorry, we're in November.
December 9. I don't know. They are December 9th, I want to say, but I don't have it pulled up. December 7th. December December 7th. So be on the lookout for Wind Waker Twilight Princess. We'll see what happens.
And then you were bringing up indies a second ago. What did you want to say about the indie presentation we just recently got?
We got an Indie World Direct on would it be Tuesday, I believe. So it was Tuesday of this week. Quick 20-minute presentation, and in the 20-minute presentation, there were 18 different indie games announced. all releasing between the day that it released. I think there were 4 games that were released the day of, and spring 2024. So again, if you want to speculate anything about time, there's no games that are being announced like past the summer for Switch yet. Like there's no like winter or 2025 or anything.
Yeah, it's funny
Uh,
you bring that up because I was just saying to Sean the other day, after Mario RPG comes out, I should be able to make a dent in that backlog because the next all the games that I'm interested in buying for Nintendo now, none of them have release dates. So I'm like, I should be able to get rid of that backlog like I want.
yeah, that new Dragon Quest looks a lot of fun though. But I digress for now. There were, let's see, there were 4 games that came out when the day that it was the day that the presentation came out. Uh, and then a few of them I'm pretty excited about. Like, how do you say it? Passport out, the Lost Artist. What else is on here? Backpack Hero seems like a really cool game. Um, there was another one. And Joy the Diner also came out as well. Um, Basically, I thought it was a nice presentation of games. It's cool to see so many indies coming out again so late in the Switch's life cycle. Um, the most I'm excited about is a game called Moonstone Island, which combines a lot of different mechanics. Whether it's like I think like farming, like card collecting, monster taming, like it combines a whole lot of elements, but apparently it all works. It's a lot of fun. So I want to check that out. Core Keepers comes out on Switch, which is cool. Shantae Advance, which uh, was a game it was supposed to come out in 2001 for Game Boy Advance. That game is coming out next year, which is not a game that I'll play, but it's kind of cool to see like a team of people come together that far down the road. Uh, so yeah, I would just say in the presentation, um, what they did mostly was they would do like a highlight video, and then they would talk to the developers, and then they would show like the gameplay. And I thought it was a little bit backwards, or it was a little bit counterproductive at times because like I would see the highlights and I wouldn't know what's going on. I wouldn't know the game, and then they would show the developers. I still wouldn't know the game, and then they would show the gameplay. So sometimes these Nintendo presentations are set up in a way that I don't really like too much. And then in the last 2 minutes, they show off highlights from 6 different games, and 2 of which released on that day. So it was kind of an interesting. Not I didn't like the way it was set up so much because I would think like you would want to show off the games that are releasing now and save and then maybe save the ones that come out later for later. But I digress. You know, more
That would
indies for
make the most
Switch.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I digress. I mean, again, in year 7, any to me, anything at this point is good. Like it wasn't a presentation I knew about or I was expecting. So when it comes around, I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, more games. So
So let's move on into that spotlight game. What? Did you have more indie stuff? Okay.
no, I'm saying this spotlight game. This is your game. This is it.
This is definitely my game. So this week we played Toejam and Earl for the Sega Genesis, which came out in March of 92 in Japan, but America got it first, October of 91 in North America. We already talked about how they were almost mascots for the Sega system, but this game was deemed to be too, quote unquote, too American for them to be the mascots. I guess they didn't think it would work internationally. Toejam Toejam and Earl, it received positive reviews when it came out, but it had almost unanimous critical acclaim. But Sega thought, let's put this on the back burner for a while because it was kind of a commercial failure. It had very low sales initially, but the game built a cult following through word of mouth, and it was made even bigger by the fact that Sega Genesis had this like 1991 sales spike caused by like Sonic the Hedgehog coming out, and I think the system dropped in price or something. So Toejam and Earl sales went up, became a cult success. It's in like every collection they've ever released of Sega games. It's always collected in there. I thought this was interesting. A review published in both the Chicago Tribune and Rome News Tribune, whatever that is, likened Toejam and Earl to an outer space rap version of Abbott and Costello, which I thought was, mostly based on their physical appearances, but I guess it makes sense. And
okay, keep going.
I was going to say it's been called weird, strange, thoroughly odd. Critics have a difficult time determining the genre for the game. It's been called a platforming game, a roguelike, an action adventure, all kinds of things. But to me, it's just a great game that I grew up with. It's one of my favorite video game soundtracks of all time. The music in this, I've criticized the Sega Genesis for its musical abilities, but there's two games that I will always praise for their music on there, and this is one of them. The other is Maximum Carnage. Yeah. So if you've never played this game before, it's got so much charm out the wazoo. It's about a couple of aliens that crash land on Earth, and you have to collect the spaceship parts to put their spaceship back together. It's one thing that I thought was really ahead of its time is it had like a randomizer element to it, so you're never playing the same game twice, or you can, but they have that as an option when you first start, so you can choose to have the same worlds every time, or you can choose to randomize everything. And I thought that was very ahead of its time to be able to have to have the maps randomly generated.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
it's definitely the game I've logged the most multiplayer hours into pre-Nintendo 64, because obviously Smash Brothers and GoldenEye and stuff like that. But my friends and I played the heck out of this growing up. Like, it was definitely like if I had a friend over, we would play this. And there were Sean. I'm sad he's not here to talk about it. Sean was one of them. Sean and my friend Nick. We played so much of this game. We used to call it quicksand cheese because this is the type of game where it wouldn't be out of place for it to be cheese. It's that weird.
Yeah. Whatever happened? Like growing up, didn't you think quicksand was a much bigger problem than it actually was? Like,
yeah, that and food fights. I thought I'd end up in a lot more food fights. Never had a single one.
That is very true. I've never been a part of a food fight. There have been threats of them before, but yeah. It's too bad because growing up I always thought like okay, if I'm walking in the creek I got to be careful, might be quicksand, because it was like in every TV show. I digress. It might only make sense in that way.
Well, to let you know how much I do love this game and how much this is a Kevin game. So in my yearbook, my senior yearbook, we had a senior will where people, if they had like younger siblings or just like friends in the class below them, you would leave things in the senior will because you were leaving. And I wrote a piece in the senior will where I left a friend of mine who was a grade below me. And I just basically listed all the spaceship parts from Toejam and Earl. I was like, I leave my Rapmaster capsule, and I went through the whole list of Toejam and Earl parts to Nick. And my senior quote in the yearbook was, "Don't let the lawnmower get caught in the biscuit mix." which is something that Toejam says in one of the in-between levels, and it's complete nonsense, which is why I loved it for my senior quote.
I'm happy. I'm happy you never changed, Kevin. It sounds like we would have been friends in high school, but I would have been like, Kevin, man, I don't know, man.
So yeah, I don't know how I knew about the secret level 0 back in the day either. Like, that's one of those things that was passed around through word of mouth in a pre-internet era, where I don't know if you knew this playing, but there's a secret if on the first level, which is mostly water, so you'd never know this. If you get an inner tube and go all the way into the bottom left corner, there is a secret access point that lets you go down to level 0. And there's a hot tub down there, and it refills your health, and you get like a bunch of extra lives, and you might even get a promotion. I don't remember. We should talk about the promotions. So it has like an RPG leveling system, which is like, this game has like a little bit of everything in it, man. Like, it's got RPG stuff, it's got exploration, it's got collectibles. It was the first game I ever played with an interactive credits sequence, because when you beat the game, it sends you back to their home planet of Funkatron, and you walk down this like yellow brick road while every like NPC in the game like congratulates you on your way. What's that?
Yeah, no. Like, I like that part. It's just very like it's just very silly, and yeah, I'd love to know which like modern developers have been influenced by this game, because I definitely I see a lot of it. Not saying that like they started some of these things. Like, did you ever play Rogue? Because I know that this game was inspired by Rogue.
No, I did not.
No. So Rogue, I know, came out on Atari. I guess it came out on PC as well. I don't know. Yes, it did. But I think the map, like the mapping system, was inspired by this game, Rogue. And I think lots of perhaps other roguelites were inspired by this same game as well. But I just think, like, for me, this is definitely the earliest roguelike game I've played. So I'd love to know if, like, Supergiant Games, when they were making Hades, if they thought about Toejam and Earl, because the elements are there, and seeing things that are like procedurally generated throughout the game is very cool and just adds a lot of replay value. And the fact that they knew that back at that point, that it would add a lot of replay value, is just very cool.
The thing I think that aged the worst about this game is, which has been improved in all the subsequent re-releases, is save states are necessary. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that you can't save your progress at all is something that's completely of its time, but we've moved past as a society. And you play a modern version where you can at least save your progress in between levels, because good God, like, this was back in the era where you just had to beat a whole game in one sitting or leave your system on overnight.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, to me, it's like a game that intentionally tried. I don't know how to say it. It tried to be exactly what it was. I'm trying to say it's like, yeah, it's like it's intentionally 90s, as if they knew, like, as if they just knew, like, we're gonna make a game that's specifically in this era.
It's so 90s. You're right. Like, it's got those like Saved by the Bell, like, backgrounds when you travel in between levels and stuff, and you know, all of the dialogue, and so 90s. The hip hop elements.
and just a game that has aged has aged very well. I didn't I didn't have too much more on it. Did they make a mistake in changing this formula in the sequels? Because this is the only one that I've played.
Well, I think what they did with the second one was they tried to do everything the opposite of what this game did just so it would be different. So the sequel's a side scroller, which is different. It takes place on Funkatron, even though that was the weirdest choice for me because this game supposedly takes place on Earth, but it looks nothing like Earth. So you could have said it was anywhere, you know what I mean? But they were like, all right, so this game they were on Earth, next game we'll put them back on their home planet. It's like they just did the opposite of every decision they possibly could, and I don't know. I don't think I have beaten the second one, but it's like it's not as good. I'll say that. I'll play the second one if I'm in a really, really big Toejam and Earl mood and I just finished this one. And I don't know. I'd say it's worth a play, but it's not like a must play. You know what I mean? Like that second game is just like it's a historical oddity.
Did you play any of the newest one? Because the newest one was a Kickstarter.
Yes,
right?
I have. Yeah. So I played them all. I played the third one, even though that didn't feel finished. It felt like when you would see like screenshots of a game in like a gaming magazine for a game that's going to be released in like 2 years, like they did for Zelda 64 or something, and they're like, "We'll figure this out, but it's going to be something like this," and then they never figured it out. So that's the third game. It's okay. And then the one that they crowdfunded was very much like this with like an updated art style. So, and also quality of life improvements. I forget how the save system works, but obviously you can save your progress. It's a modern game. And, you know, there's more characters. They incorporated some of the characters from Toejam and Earl 3 that were created for that game. And there's like alternate versions of each one. And yeah, you unlock them and stuff, and they each have different stats, so that's pretty cool. Which the characters in this game have different stats too, which is another thing that was like an extra level of detail.
Yeah, I say bring it back, and we talk about numbers a lot on here, and I say like bring it back and just like do something different, like not 5, but just make a different roguelike game. Because roguelites are just extremely popular right now. Like,
I think the direction that 3 was heading in was the right direction. They just didn't really finish it. But they kind of like did like a Mario 64 version of Toejam and Earl. And I feel like they could have just ironed out a few more of the details and it really would have been there. Because I'd say like that third game is like a 7 out of 10 and they could have got it up to an 8 or a 9. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's that's what they should do, I think, is do another game in the style of that third one, but good this time.
Okay. So I mean, it could be multiple directions. I just thought like because like Hades or whatever it was, they like made roguelikes just explode, and now there's like so many copies, some good, some bad, of these games now. So yeah,
well, apparently they announced they're making a movie, which I don't know how far into development it is. I read it said on December 5th of 2022, it was announced that they're making a movie. And now that the Mario movie has hit so hard and we've had the 2 Sonic movies hit really well, and yeah, I could totally see them being like, get this out now. Video game movies are hot. Let's strike while the iron's hot. Let's get this out there. So we could be hearing more about the Toejam and Earl movie soon.
Was there a cartoon?
Not that I know of. That's a good question.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't
think so either. No. But I just brought up the tab. It says it was announced that Toejam and Earl movie is in development from Amazon Studios with Stephen Curry. I don't know if that's the Stephen Curry producing through his production company Unanimous Media, along with producer partner Eric Payton. I don't know any of these names. A lot of names. The game's creators, okay, so they're in there, are working on the script. Okay.
Wait, wait. It is Steph Curry.
Oh, Steve, it is the Stephen Curry. Okay.
No, not Steven. Stephen.
Stephen.
Curry.
Sorry, yeah, Stephen Curry.
Yeah. No, what is? Wait, hold on. Is Steph Curry a Toejam and Earl fan? Hold
Must
on.
be.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Hold on.
Or he's just got some of that NBA money to throw around. Who knows?
Okay. I don't. I'm not gonna do it now. But that he might. He might be like he's 35, so he's the right age for it. I mean,
this could get made.
Yeah. I wonder. Huh. I never knew that. I wonder if he's a Toejam and Earl fan. That just blows me away. Sorry.
And we can do a whole episode about the Toejam and Earl movie like we did last week for Zelda. What do you want to see? One thing I really liked that the third game did was instead of getting spaceship parts in that game, you were looking for vinyl records from this guy's music collection. You were putting that back together, and I thought that was a really good twist since the music is such a focus in this series.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Sorry, I'm so distracted. Okay.
So another thing you'd probably like, that I'll just keep listing things the third game did that I think were improvements, is so there was it's all coming back to me now. There was an item that you would pick up where you would get experience points, where you would do like a rhythm game, like it would play you a hip hop beat, and you would have to hit like XXY, and like, you know, if you do it in time enough times, you got experience points. That was really cool. There's so much they could do with this series. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. Sega had the rights for the longest time, and they put it on hold, and then the rights reverted back to the creators. So there was like a decade there where they couldn't do anything with Toejam and Earl, unless Sega did it, which they didn't.
So you can just hear all of these songs in your head.
Oh, for sure.
I really like the elevator one. Like when even like the little cutscene when they're going up, I guess, in the elevator. You know what I mean? But anyways.
You know what's funny? I play bass guitar. I've been playing for a little over 20 years now. This game is part of why I wanted to learn how to play bass. And the funny thing is, I still to this day can't play a funk bass because it's a completely different play style. So I never developed that skill set. But this is even though so this soundtrack is part of why I play bass, and I still can't even play it.
It's very cool. I mean, a big part of why I got into music was video games. Like that was an early influence, just as anything else was at the time. That's very cool. In high school, I one time played the Mario Brothers theme in front of like 500 people for a competition I did. Yeah,
that's awesome.
We did our mascot was the Patriot, and there was this competition that was called like Mr. Patriot, where like a boy from every club would represent the club, and then it would be like a fashion show, and then you do like dances, and I did it a couple years because it was just silly, and I was Mr. Jazz Band. I always represented the jazz club. And one year we did the Mario theme, because the Mario theme is rhythm changes, so it's the same chord progression as like I Got Rhythm, or it's the same chord progression as the Flintstones theme, for example.
Okay.
And yeah, Flintstones, I Got Rhythm, and probably a lot of other things that we've heard, in movies or something else. Uh, so yeah, it's kind of like a jazzy tune that I played that we played like little jazz trio. I digress. You made me think of that. Music influences, and hey, uh, whatever made you get into it.
Well,
Definitely, some of the best music out of any Spotlight game we've played.
for sure. So I'm probably going to rank this higher than most sane people would, but because it's such an important part of my gaming history and my gaming journey, I'm putting it all the way at number 2 on my list, right below A Link to the Past. I couldn't, in good conscience, put it at number 1. I was like, no, I know I like A Link to the Past more, and I know A Link to the Past is a better game. But as far as like if I'm continuing to make this list based on like if you were to sit me down with a list of games and what do you want to play right now, I'll always want to play Toejam and Earl, just like I will always want to play A Link to the Past. Especially since it's never the same game twice. You can choose the random mode. So yeah, I'll always choose to play Toejam and Earl if it's an option.
I would put mine at number 7. Um, Number 7 puts it below Yoshi's Island and puts it above games like Mario Party 2,
Still a
Open
respectable
Golf,
position, yeah.
Mappy Land, Kirby's Dream Land. There's just some ones at the top that are just the classics that I'm gonna play over that. But this is an awesome addition to like we haven't played any game like this yet.
We didn't even talk about how unique the enemies are. Like the nerd herd,
Yeah, very
the
true.
dentist, like a dentist with a drill. You've got, we didn't really talk about the gameplay much at all. You open presents that have different abilities. They can be randomized. So much. You can pay money to have them identified. There's so many mechanics involved in this game. It was definitely not generic to call back to what we said earlier in the podcast.
Yeah. One makes you dance, but it doesn't hurt you.
Oh yeah, the
You have
hula
to,
girl.
yeah, you have to
So
stand there and
you're stuck
dance.
dancing, and then like some bees will come over and get you.
Yeah,
Your weapons are tomatoes. Like you shoot them with a slingshot, or you can make it rain. You can make it rain tomatoes. Like there's so many weird things in this game. Have you ever watched the Angry Video Game Nerd where he reviewed I think it was the Sega CD, and there was like this really weird game he reviewed where he makes this like bit about like, oh, you got like the penguins have to hit the doom scale or something. Like it was this game that didn't make any sense. I wonder why Toejam and Earl works and that game didn't, because they're both like, if you describe it to someone, you're like, okay, so you're on Earth, and Earth is all kinds of cut up into different levels, and you take an elevator to each different level of Earth, and there's sand, this quicksand that looks like cheese, and you throw tomatoes at a dentist, and you might get hit by a flock of chickens who are shooting eggs out of a cannon. Um, you can sneak up on Santa Claus to get presents. It's such a unique, weird game.
yeah. Timing? I don't know.
Yeah, that it
Yeah,
might just be the timing.
yeah. Timing of it because the the part that makes it unique, I think, more is the gameplay. Because I mean, there's plenty of weird games that kind of came out during this time. Where did I rank? You see, yeah, Earthworm Jim 22. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good
um,
point.
yeah,
It doesn't work there, but it works here.
So
I mean, it worked for some people. Some people love Earthworm Jim, but didn't work for us.
yeah, it's the unique uh, gameplay mechanics, and yeah, I'm like I had to be corrected on how exactly how innovative this game was, because a lot of these things I had not seen in a earlier game than this. A lot of these roguelike elements, procedurally generated, just haven't seen it before. So yeah, this is just a great addition. Tons of nostalgia, whether or not you were playing it at the time. Um, what was I going to say? Oh, shout out to Angry Video Game Nerd. I was watching him this morning, getting ready for this episode when they were doing the like they used to do this thing like him and his friend would play a game every week,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
him and Mike or whatever his name was,
I
and it
didn't
was
know they
basically
did
just
Toejam and Earl on that. I should check that out.
yeah, it was like 9 years ago, and
Okay.
like and I love that Angry Video Game Nerd figured out to like not change his formula too much over the years, because like I feel like every time I sit down to watch one of his videos, I feel like I'm just like it feels very comforting for some reason. Like
Yeah.
it all feels very familiar, as if I'm like walking into his basement to like just play some games. So shout out to him. He's awesome. His video where he plays all the Home Alone games with Macaulay Culkin is incredible.
So next week we are playing a game that we made fun of them adding onto the service. So this will be
Well,
interesting. We're playing Quest for Camelot on Game Boy.
oh,
So this
I
is
wish Sean was here.
from one end of the spectrum to the other. I don't think this one's going to rank very high, but we'll see. Could be a gem, could be a surprise. I don't know. I've never played it. I don't know anything about it.
So wait, hold on. So Kevin, you're telling me that this week I have to play Mario RPG and Quest for Camelot.
That's what, yes, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
Or you could watch a Let's Play.
this is going to be an interesting week. Okay.
And if you have any thoughts on Quest for Camelot for Game Boy, or Toejam and Earl, or Mario RPG, or anything Nintendo related, let us know. We've got an email address, nintendotherapypod@gmail.com, and we're on X at Nintendo Therapy. So send us a message and we'll read it on here. And if you got questions, we'll answer them. All that kind of communication that people have for things. So yeah, and keep in mind, we are Nintendo fans, not Nintendo experts. So we might not always know what we're talking about. Let us know if you have any corrections for us. And until then, until you write us, until we hear word from you, we're just going to keep on doing what we're doing.
Keep going.
And we'll see you next time on Nintendo Therapy.